Welcome to the channel. This is your space for growth, clarity, and real change. If you're ready to break old patterns, build a stronger mindset, and become the best version of yourself, you're in the right place. Let's rise one step at a time and start with a relatable story. There was a phase when Amit couldn't stand mornings. Not just disliked them, he stayed away from them. For him, mornings were a reminder that a new day had started, and he still wasn't where he hoped to be. Every night, he made promises to himself. Tomorrow will be better. I'll wake up early. I'll sort everything out. But each morning, those promises faded away. The cycle, his alarm would ring, 6:30 a.m., a sharp, uncomfortable sound cutting through his sleep. His hand would reach out, half awake, searching blindly, and then snooze. 10 more minutes, just 10. Then again, and again, and again, until suddenly it was 8:15. Panic, rush, stress, no time for breakfast, no time to think, no time to breathe. He would get ready in a hurry, grab whatever he could, and run out the door. Every single day felt like he was chasing something, but never catching it. The silent frustration. Amit wasn't lazy. That's what hurt the most. He had dreams, big ones. He wanted to grow in his career. He wanted financial freedom. He wanted to feel proud of himself. But his actions didn't match his intentions. And deep down, he knew it. The comparison trap. Late at night, lying in bed, scrolling endlessly, he saw people winning, early risers, entrepreneurs, fitness transformations. Morning routines. 5 a.m. club changed my life. Wake up early to win the day. Success starts before sunrise. He watched, he saved videos. He felt inspired for about 5 minutes. Then he put his phone down and slept at 1:30 a.m. The truth he avoided, one night, something felt different. There was no motivation, no excitement, just silence. He stared at the ceiling, and for the first time, he didn't distract himself. He didn't open his phone. He didn't play music. He just thought, what am I doing? The question echoed in his mind, not in a dramatic way, not in a motivational way, but in a quiet, honest way. What am I actually doing with my life? A hard realization. He thought about the past year. So many plans, so many goals, so many starting tomorrow moments. But nothing really changed. Same habits, same routine, same results. It wasn't the world holding him back. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't lack of opportunity. It was him, and that truth was uncomfortable. The shift begins. That night, Amit didn't make a big plan. He didn't write a long list of goals. He didn't try to fix everything. He chose one thing, just one. I will wake up at 5 a.m. That was it. No pressure to be perfect. No complicated routine. Just wake up, because he realized something simple. If he couldn't control the first hour of his day, how could he control anything else? Setting the alarm. He picked up his phone, set the alarm. 5 a.m. He stared at the number for a few seconds. It felt early. Too early. His mind immediately started negotiating. Maybe 6 a.m. is fine. Start small. You need sleep. But this time, he didn't listen. He placed his phone across the room, not next to his bed, not within reach. Across the room, a small move, but a powerful one. a different kind of night. That night felt different. There was no scrolling, no endless videos, no distractions, just a quiet sense of intention. He didn't fall asleep instantly, but his mind was calm, clear, focused. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't ending the day with regret. The first alarm, 5 a.m., the alarm rang, loud, sharp, unforgiving. His eyes opened, slowly. His body felt heavy, warm, comfortable, and then came the voice. The familiar one, sleep, just today. You can start tomorrow. It sounded reasonable, logical, even kind. But something else, something quieter, spoke to, if not today, then when? The first battle, this was it. Not a big life moment, not something dramatic, just a small decision. Stay in bed or get up. His mind argued. His body resisted. But his hand moved. He pushed the blanket aside, sat up, and just like that, he won. Not perfectly, not easily, but he did it. A new world. He walked to the window, still half asleep, still unsure, and then he looked outside. The world was quiet, still, peaceful, no traffic, no noise, no rush, just soft light beginning to touch the sky. It felt different, like the world hadn't started yet. And for the first time, he was early, the first hour. He didn't know what to do. There was no perfect routine, no plan. So he kept it simple. He drank water, sat down, closed his eyes, took a deep breath, then another, and another. 5 minutes. That's all. But it felt grounding, a small start. He picked up a book, not because he had to, but because he had time. 10 minutes. Just reading. No rush. No distraction. Then he wrote something. Not a full journal. Just 3 lines. What do I want today? 3 simple goals. That was it. Day 1, complete by 6 a.m. He had already done more for himself than he usually did all morning. And the best part, he wasn't rushed. He got ready calmly, ate properly, left on time. And when he reached work, he wasn't catching up. He was ready, but it wasn't perfect. Around midday, he felt tired. His energy dipped, his focus slipped, and his mind said, "See, this is why you shouldn't wake up early." But this time, he didn't quit. He adjusted. That night, he slept earlier. Not because he forced himself, but because he was actually tired. Day 2 begins before sleep. This was the realization. Waking up at 5 a.m. doesn't start in the morning, it starts the night before. And for the first time, he understood that the first week. The next few days weren't easy. Some mornings felt impossible. Some alarms felt louder than others. But something had changed. He wasn't just trying anymore. He had started, and starting changes everything. This was only the beginning, not of a routine, but of a new identity. Because Amit was no longer someone who wanted to change. He was someone who had begun. The second day was harder, not because the alarm was louder, but because now Amit knew what it felt like. The illusion fades. On day 1, everything felt new, fresh, different, exciting. But day 2, there was no excitement, only resistance. 5 a.m. The alarm rang again. His body reacted instantly. He pulled the blanket tighter, turned his face away, and the voice returned. Stronger this time? You already proved you can do it. Rest today. Don't push too hard. It sounded wise, almost like self-care. But deep down, he knew the difference. This wasn't rest. This was old habit trying to come back, a harder choice. He didn't jump out of bed. Not this time. He sat there, eyes closed, thinking. This moment felt longer than it actually was. A quiet battle. Then slowly, he stood up, not with energy, not with excitement, but with decision. And sometimes that's enough. The second morning, it didn't feel magical like the first. The air was the same, the silence was the same, but his mind was different. Doubt had entered. Can I really do this every day? Is this even worth it? What if I fail again? These weren't loud thoughts. They were subtle, persistent, and dangerous. The missing piece. That morning, Amit realized something important. Waking up early isn't the hard part. Staying consistent is. Anyone can wake up early once, but doing it again and again and again, that's where most people stop. Day 3, the slip. On the third day, he failed. The alarm rang. He heard it, but this time, he didn't move. He turned it off and went back to sleep. When he woke up, it was 7:45 a.m. The old rush returned, the old stress, the old feeling, and with it came guilt. Facing himself, he stood in front of the mirror, quiet, no excuses, no blaming, just one thought. I knew this would happen. And that's when most people quit, not because they can't do it, but because they expect perfection. One mistake feels like failure, and failure feels like the end. But this time was different. Amit didn't restart next week. He didn't say, I'll try again someday. He made a simple decision. Tomorrow, I wake up again. No drama, no guilt, just continue. The real habit. That's when it clicked. The habit wasn't waking up at 5 a.m. The real habit was not quitting, even after failing, especially after failing, reset without pressure. That night, he didn't overthink. He didn't try to be perfect again. He just reset. Alarm set. Phone away. Sleep. Day 4. A quiet win. 5 a.m. Alarm rings. He wakes up. No celebration. No excitement. Just action. And strangely, that felt stronger. Because now, it wasn't emotion driving him. It was discipline. Understanding the pattern, over the next few days, Amit started noticing patterns. The mornings were hard, but predictable. His mind always tried to negotiate, always tried to delay. But once he stood up, it got easier. Every single time. Small improvements. He didn't change everything. He made small upgrades. Instead of just sitting, he stretched. Instead of random reading, he picked one topic. Instead of vague goals, he wrote clear actions. Tiny changes, but they added up. The first real shift. By the end of the week, something surprising happened. He woke up before the alarm. Not every day, but once. And that moment felt powerful because it wasn't forced. It was becoming natural. A new thought. One morning, while sitting quietly, he had a thought he never had before. I like this. not because it was easy, but because it was his time, his space, his control, external versus internal. Before this, his life was reactive. Wake up late, rush, respond, survive the day. Now, it was intentional. Wake up early, prepare, act, lead the day, same 24 hours. Different experience. Building identity, something deeper was happening. He wasn't just changing his routine. He was changing how he saw himself. From, I'm not a morning person, to, I'm someone who wakes up early. And that shift changes behavior. The tough morning. But growth isn't linear. One morning, it rained heavily. The room felt colder. The bed felt warmer. And everything inside him said, not today. This time, the resistance was stronger than ever. He sat on the edge of the bed, head down, tired. And then he asked himself, why am I doing this? Reconnecting to purpose, he didn't answer immediately. But slowly, the reasons came back. He wanted control. He wanted growth. He wanted change. And those things don't come easy. So he stood up, not because he felt like it, but because he remembered why. The secret most people miss: motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. But purpose stays. And when discipline connects to purpose, consistency becomes possible. End of week 1. 7 days. Not perfect, not flawless, but real. He failed once, recovered quickly, and kept going. That was the win. A new direction. Ahmed didn't realize it yet, but his life had already started changing. Not in big visible ways, but internally. An internal change always comes first. This was no longer about waking up early. It was about becoming someone who keeps promises to himself. And that changes everything. By the start of the second week, something had changed. Not dramatically, not visibly to others, but inside Ahmed, there was a quiet shift. From effort to rhythm. Waking up at 5 a.m. was still hard, but it wasn't shocking anymore. His body resisted less. His mind argued less. It was slowly becoming normal. And that's when real transformation begins. Not when something feels exciting, but when it becomes part of your rhythm. Adding one more piece. Amit didn't rush to build a perfect routine. He remembered what worked. Small steps, so he added just one thing. Movement. Nothing intense, no gym pressure, just 10 minutes. Stretching, light exercise, simple body movement. At first, it felt unnecessary. But after a few days, he noticed something. His energy stayed longer, his focus improved, and his mornings felt alive. Energy creates momentum. Before this, mornings felt heavy, slow, draining. Now, they had momentum. Wake up, move, breathe, think. Each action led to the next. And that flow carried into his day the first visible change. At work, something small happened. He completed a task early, not rushed, not forced, but with clarity, and his manager noticed. Good work. 2 simple words. But for Amit, they meant something more. Because this time, he knew why it happened. Clarity over chaos. Before, his mornings were chaotic. Now, they were structured. And that structure created clarity. Instead of reacting all day, he started planning. Instead of guessing, he started deciding, and those small mental shifts created better results. Habit stacking begins. Week by week, he added more, not randomly, but intentionally. After movement, he added learning. 20 minutes, not scrolling, not consuming noise, but focused learning, something useful, something meaningful, skills, ideas, growth, a different kind of input. Earlier, his mind was filled with distractions. Now, it was filled with direction, and that changed how he thought. Better inputs create better decisions, and better decisions create a better life. The internal dialogue changes. Before, his thoughts sounded like, "I'm tired, I'll do it later. This is too much." Now, slowly, they changed. Just start. Stay consistent. You've done this before. Same person, different mindset, confidence without noise. Something interesting happened. Amit didn't become loud. He didn't show off, but he became confident, quiet confidence, the kind that comes from keeping promises to yourself. No one else saw the 5 a.m. mornings, but he did, and that was enough. Discipline builds identity. Each morning was like a vote for the person he wanted to become. And slowly, those votes added up. He was no longer trying to be disciplined. He was becoming disciplined. The day that felt different. One day, something unexpected happened. He finished his work early, again, but this time, he didn't feel tired. He felt free. Free to think, free to plan, free to improve. That feeling was new. Before, he only worked to survive the day. Now, he had space to grow. Awareness expands. With early mornings came awareness. He noticed things. How he spent time, where he wasted energy, what actually mattered. And slowly, he started removing distractions. Less scrolling, less noise, less unnecessary stress. Not forced, just natural. Balance starts forming. This wasn't about becoming extreme. He didn't remove fun. He didn't isolate himself. He simply became intentional. Work when it's time to work. Rest when it's time to rest. And that balance made everything sustainable. Sleep becomes a priority. Earlier, sleep was random. Late nights, endless scrolling, no structure. Now, sleep had a purpose. Because he respected his mornings, he started respecting his nights. And that completed the cycle. The compounding effect. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into habits. Habits into identity. And identity into results. Small daily actions were now creating noticeable change. Not overnight success, but steady progress. And steady progress always wins. People start asking. Colleagues noticed. Friends noticed. You seem different, more focused, more calm. He didn't explain everything. He just smiled. Because the change wasn't loud. It was built quietly. At 5 a.m., direction over motivation. Earlier, he waited for motivation. Now, he followed direction. Wake up, move, learn, plan, act. Simple, repeatable, and powerful. The real reward, it wasn't success. Not yet. It wasn't money. Not immediately. It was something deeper. Control over his time, control over his actions, control over his mindset. And once you gain control, everything else becomes possible. A morning realization. One morning, watching the sun rise, he had a thought. This is just the beginning, because now he wasn't chasing change anymore. He was living it. This wasn't about waking up early anymore. It was about becoming someone who does what needs to be done, even when it's hard. And that kind of person is unstoppable. By the third week, Amit's life didn't look completely different, but it felt different. The quiet momentum. There was a steady rhythm now. Wake up at 5 a.m., move, think, plan, act, no chaos, no rush, just flow. And that flow was starting to show results. The opportunity. One morning at work, something unexpected happened. His manager called him in. Amit, we have a new project coming up. He paused. We need someone reliable, someone consistent. A short silence. I think you can handle it. Those words landed differently because this time, Amit believed them too. Prepared before the moment, this wasn't luck. This was preparation meeting opportunity. All those early mornings, all those small habits, they had built something invisible. Focus, clarity, discipline. And now it was visible. Stepping up, he didn't hesitate. Yeah, I'll do it. Not with overconfidence, but with quiet certainty. Because deep down, he knew something had changed. Handling pressure differently. The project wasn't easy. Deadlines, expectations, challenges. But this time, he didn't panic. He planned. Every morning at 5 a.m., he used that time, breaking tasks down, thinking ahead, preparing solutions. So when the day started, he wasn't reacting. He was ready. Old problems, new response. The problems didn't disappear, but his response did. Earlier, stress, delay, panic. Now, clarity, action, progress. Same challenges, different outcome. Recognition grows. Weeks passed. The project moved forward, and slowly, people started noticing more. Good work, Amit. Nice planning. Impressive consistency. These weren't big awards, but they mattered because they were earned. Looking back, one evening, he sat quietly and thought about who he was. Just a few weeks ago, late mornings, missed chances, endless excuses. And now, early mornings, clear direction, consistent action, same person, different choices, the internal breakthrough. That's when it hit him. Success isn't a big moment. It's a collection of small wins, daily, repeated. Most people wait for something big to happen, but real change happens quietly. At 5 a.m., the setback, but just as things were improving, life tested him again. One night, he couldn't sleep. Stress, overthinking, pressure from the project. Hours passed. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and suddenly it was 5 a.m. The alarm rang. A different kind of decision. This time, it wasn't laziness. It was exhaustion. Real. And he had to decide. Push through or rest? Listening versus quitting. This was different from before. Earlier, skipping meant giving up. Now, it meant understanding. So he made a conscious choice. He rested, not out of weakness, but with awareness. Balance creates sustainability. That day taught him something important. Discipline isn't about being extreme. It's about being consistent over time, and consistency needs balance. The next day, he was back at 5 a.m. No guilt, no reset, just continue. The project peaked. As the project reached its final stage, pressure increased, deadlines tightened, expectations rose. But Amit stayed steady. Every morning, he anchored himself. 5 a.m., silence, clarity. That became his advantage. The result: the project was completed successfully. No last-minute panic, no chaos, just solid execution. And one day, his manager said, "This is your best work so far." Simple words, but they carried weight because Amit knew this wasn't just about work. This was about who he had become. The realization deepens. That night, he sat by the window again, just like the night everything started. But this time, he felt different, stronger, calmer, clearer. And he realized 5 a.m. didn't give me success. It gave me the habits that lead to success. A new identity fully formed. He no longer questioned the routine. He no longer debated with the alarm. He just woke up, because that's who he was now. Someone who shows up no matter what. The turning point: most people think change is hard. But the truth is, staying the same is harder because it costs you your potential, your growth, your future. Amit chose differently. And that choice changed everything. This wasn't the end. It was the turning point. Because now he was ready for bigger challenges, bigger goals, and a bigger life. Months passed. What once felt impossible was now normal. 5 a.m. wasn't a struggle anymore. It wasn't a challenge. It was simply who Amit had become, a life that feels different. His days no longer started with stress, no rushing, no panic, no catching up. Instead, there was space to think, space to grow, space to live. And that space changed everything. Health becomes strength. What began as 10 minutes of movement turned into something more. Longer workouts, better energy, stronger body. Not for appearance, but for strength, physical strength, created mental strength. And that showed up everywhere. Financial awareness grows. With clarity came better decisions. He started tracking expenses, saving intentionally, learning about money. No shortcuts, no risky moves, just discipline. The same discipline that started at 5 a.m. A sharper mind. His thinking changed. Less noise, more focus. Less reaction, more intention. He stopped wasting time on things that didn't matter and started investing time in things that did. Skills, knowledge, growth, relationships improve. Something unexpected happened. His relationships improved, not because he tried harder, but because he became better, more present, more patient, more aware. When you improve yourself, everything around you improves too. Inspiring without trying. People started asking questions. How do you stay so consistent? How do you wake up so early? What changed? Amit didn't give long speeches. He just said, I started small and didn't quit, because that was the truth. The ripple effect: a friend decided to try waking up early. Then another, not perfectly, not consistently, but they started, and that's how change spreads. Not through words, But through example, looking at his old self, one morning, Ahmed looked at himself in the mirror, and for a moment, he remembered the old version of him. The late mornings, the excuses, the frustration, and he smiled, not with pride, but with understanding, because that version of him was necessary. It led him here. The truth about transformation. Transformation isn't fast. It's not flashy. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly, in small decisions, repeated daily. And most of those decisions, no one sees. The power of 5 a.m. 5 a.m. didn't give him superpowers. It gave him something better. Time. Time to think. Time to act. Time to grow. And when you use time well, life changes. 2 paths. Every morning, there are 2 paths. Stay in comfort or step into growth. One feels easy. The other feels hard. But over time, they lead to very different lives. Amit chose the harder path, and that made his life easier. The final realization, one morning, watching the sun rise, he had a final thought. Success is not about waking up at 5 a.m. It's about becoming the person who can. Because once you become that person, you can do anything. Final message. Tomorrow morning, your alarm will ring. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. Stay the same or start something new. Not perfect, not big, just one small step. Wake up, because every morning is a new chance, a new decision, a new life waiting to begin. And it all starts with one choice, 5 a.m. If this story inspired you, start tomorrow, not next week, not someday, tomorrow. And if you're ready to change your life, subscribe for more stories like this, because your next level is waiting for you.